welcome to today's episode of Fine is a Four-Letter Word. My guest today, Susan Glusica. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's so great to be here.
It is great to have you. Let's jump right in straight away to what are the beliefs and values that you were raised with that contributed to you becoming who you have?
Oh, wow. Yeah, I give full credit to my parents. They came from, so my father's a German immigrant, and my mother's two parents were Norwegian immigrants. So Northern European, basically, mores and values and habits, and that's that hard work ethic, squarely in the middle class mindset of, work hard to get what you want, save your money for what you want, and all of these things. And also, interestingly, my father wanted boys and he got three girls. So we were raised with the idea that we could have anything, be anything, do anything that we wanted. So I credit, yes, and I credit them for teaching us that hard work ethic, and those values of integrity and seeking to own who you are and how you express yourself in the world. However, being raised within the framework of my mother and her family, and her mother, they were not raised emotionally kind of nurtured, right? So they were kind of the doers of not the nurturers, the doers. So we have strong women, but not nurturing women in our family. And so I attracted in my current marriage, which is not my first, somebody who is, so I'm strong core masculine, he's strong core feminine. So it really works in our dynamic. And so we've been married over 23 years now.
Congratulations. That's an accomplishment.
Yeah. Which, he has a lot to say about that success too. Right. And interestingly, he comes from Southern European or Mediterranean background. So it's an interesting mix of it's kind of like the yin yang, right? But yeah, the values that I got as a kid growing up, oldest of three girls, and I was responsible for my younger sisters at a very early age. We were latchkey kids, right?
Right.
So there was a lot of early responsibility built into my life.
How much older are you than they are?
So I am 2 years older than the middle and then 6 years older than the youngest.
Okay. So it's not like a really big age gap, but it was because you're the oldest, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because as we age, I'm closest to my youngest sister. She and I are more, so we're all healers. It's interesting. We all kind of became healers over time, kind of latent healers. So my middle sister runs a school with her husband, and so they're both child psychology PhDs, and so they help children kind of heal in the educational process. And then myself and my youngest sister understand how energy works. She actually has multiple, I think 7 certifications in the healing arena. And she runs her own private luxury spa in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, which is where we're from. And then I'm helping people heal their money, right? Yeah. So it's been an interesting, journey, right? With all of that going on, so because I'm very close to my youngest sister now, it's because primarily we do a similar job of healing. She just doesn't do it on the money. She does it on the spiritual side, like the really energetic side.
It's interesting because you just said that you come from a long line of strong women, but who are not nurturing. And yet you're in these nurturing types of careers.
Yeah. And we feel it's that generational healing of, timelines and programming and, on the basic DNA level too. And it's interesting, only the middle child has, my middle sister has children. Myself and my youngest sister don't have children. We have fur babies.
Yes. And so I have to mention that as we're recording this, Susan just showed me the newest addition to her family, which is this sweetest, if you're not watching the video, because I haven't posted videos of a lot of this stuff, but the sweetest little kitten. She's gray. What's her name?
Her name is Katya.
Gotcha. Oh my gosh. She's 8 weeks old, you said?
Yep, she's
She
8 weeks old.
she is so freaking adorable. And so she's climbing all over Susan's neck right now as we're talking. So oh my goodness. No, but you did not go into a healing profession right away.
No,
Tell me about the
I
start
cut
of
my
your
teeth.
journey.
Yeah, I cut my teeth on Wall Street
Like you
because
can't get
so
very
it's
much further away from nurturing than that.
right. Well, and it's extremely masculine as a culture, right? It's
Mhm.
extremely masculine. So what's interesting is so I cut my teeth on Wall Street because I didn't go to college for a couple of reasons. First, I didn't go to college right away, I should say, because ultimately I did, because I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up, right? And I didn't know what
Mhm.
I wanted. Why spend 4 years in a college where I didn't know what I was going to be studying or why I was going to be studying or what I was going to do with it, right? So I actually started out on Wall Street as an executive assistant. So I went for a quick, 8.5 month certification at Katie Gibbs and got into a private, banking firm, Goldman Sachs, when they were still private, on a
Mhm.
one interview because I had wicked skills. I could type pretty much as fast as you could speak, and then
Wow.
take dictation, right? Which at the time, right, this is
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
before all the automation, right?
Right.
So I just made myself very valuable and got into the investment banking floor of Goldman Sachs. And it was interesting. I was as green as a dollar bill
Mhm.
and didn't really know what I was doing, but made it work and I was like 16,500, I think was my first year salary. And I thought I was queen of the heap.
That's so funny. I think
um,
that was my first salary too, and my very first job was about the same.
yeah. And it was great. I was there for 4 years, and then I moved on to Reuters America and they're on the data side of the industry for 8 years. Then I went over to the insurance side, starting at New York Life, and then ending up at Guardian Life. Initially at the broker dealer, and then over into the actual individual products division, which is where all the life insurance products and things are. And fascinatingly, leading a technology team, which is kind of the fascinating part is life insurance companies are not known for being, cutting edge technology. But
Mhm.
this was some time ago. This was now 15, almost 15 years ago. So it's, when you look back and you appreciate all of the experiences that brought you to where you are today, I credit, a lot of my mentors. I was very blessed with great mentors. I never
Mhm.
hired a coach until I actually went into the client facing side of the industry. But the mentors that I had along the way were just priceless, and they
Mhm.
were in large part to blame, if you will, for all the success that I have had. But it wasn't always all roses.
Right. Right. So, yeah, tell me more about the journey, cuz so you stayed in that career for how many years, and then what was the impetus to inspire you to go out on your own?
Yeah, so I was in corporate. My whole corporate career was about 20 years. Always successful, never had to post my resume, always tapped on the shoulder because I did the work of like 2 to 3 people because that's what I was taught by my parents. So I'm a good girl. I study
Mhm.
hard
Mhm.
and I apply what I learned. Well, I should say in school I didn't really study hard. I kind of success came easily in a way, but I
Mhm.
always applied myself, right? So it's really important to to give yourself credit where credit is due, but also
Yeah.
to honor the people who taught you, right? So here I am. I'm
Just
in.
on that point for a real quick second, it always interests me when I hear people say that they were like a self-made millionaire or self-made man, woman, whatever, because
Doesn't exist.
no, everybody has somebody that has mentored them or pulled them up or something. Like, and even people who were raised by wolves were helped by the wolves, right?
Yep. Yep, because as I'm learning with this 8-week kitten, you know, there's a lot of oversight and guidance, and even if you don't
Hmm.
feel it, there is, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I was saying. Like I was really blessed to have those great mentors. And then, but yet, right, all my so the real impetus to me going and doing what I do today is that I had a crisis of legacy, right? I could not see my footprint. I mean, here I am, successful, six-figure income, great benefits, working with great people, a manager, like the whole like I had arrived,
Hmm.
and was well reviewed and liked by my colleagues and had great friends and connections and the whole nine, right? Um, and yet my soul was like, please don't go to that corporate cubicle again, right?
Hmm.
One more day, I can't do it. So I talked to a bunch of people, including my financial advisor at the time, Joe, and he said, oh, you've always wanted to be, an educator. So why don't you come over and do what I do? Because a lot of what I do is education. And I
Hmm.
said, okay. He saw something in me I didn't see or
Hmm.
know even existed, but I trusted him, right? So
Hmm.
there's the thing. If you have a blind spot, speak to somebody who really knows you well and whom you trust, and then follow their guidance. That's like just an easy peasy, giveaway tip there.
Right,
And
right.
it
I
really
always laugh at the quote I've seen, like, if at first you don't succeed, do what your coach told you to do.
exactly. It's a great quote.
Or your mentor,
And
whatever, fill in the blank.
yeah, and being a coach now, right? I totally understand the flip side
Uh-huh.
of that is, how many people actually listen, like it's not knowing what to do, it's actually doing the thing.
Yes.
That's your humanness in action, right? And the
Mhm.
act it always takes physical action to make it, a reality, right? So
Yeah.
you can't sit on the mountaintop and go om all day and expect the coins and dollars and all that to fall into, right, your bank
Yeah.
account or your purse, right,
Yeah.
or your wallet. So yeah, it's so there I was bereft, right? My soul was like, please don't. And I listened to Joe, and I ever since have told him it's all his fault in a good way,
Mhm.
right?
That's
That
right.
and again, it hasn't been all positive, meaning all roses, right? There have been some challenges, but I will tell you, entrepreneurship is to me the best teacher of who you really are.
Absolutely.
That's the proving ground, right? Because psychologically it's easier to perform or work for someone else than it is for yourself.
Mhm. Mhm. Absolutely, because for one thing, if somebody's telling you what to do, or even if they're not telling you exactly what to do, there are parameters set up for you to
Yep.
follow. When you're on your own, you're on your own.
Yep. Exactly. So so there I was, and I started out in 2010. Well, actually, in 2008 and a half, I while still working full time, because again, I was making really good money, and you can't go off of, like a corporate income and then flip a switch and replace
Mhm.
that instantly as an entrepreneur. It rarely happens that way. You
Mhm.
really have to set up the runway, if you will, right? Lay the tracks for that success to happen more seamlessly. So it's called the entrepreneur cliff,
Yes.
right? And so I did a lot of, weekend, evening work, and really tested, like kicked the tires to make sure that this was going to work, that what Joe said and what he saw in me was true, right?
Mhm.
And that I could actually make it work. And I had early confirmation and flipped the switch in July of 2010 over from corporate soldier to eat what you kill. And there were some bumps along the way because pretty immediately after that, my husband lost his job to downsizing,
Oof.
and it took him some time to get another job. Meanwhile, I'm pedaling as fast as I can, as hard as I can, right? I'm persistent to no end. I'm doing everything because I'm one of those rare birds who you tell me to do something, I'm going to apply it right away. I don't wait.
Mhm.
I'm like, if
Mhm.
this is what I need to do, okay, so this is what we need to do. So I would apply everything pretty much instantaneously. One of my long-term coaches loves to work with me because she's like, what I love about you, Susan, is you're kind of that rare person who applies it immediately. Yeah, I want to, it's not throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks. If someone tells me, if you throw it, it will stick, I will throw it, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's
W-
that.
And
Mhm.
right, but doing the things doesn't make things happen. Like it supports things happening, but like you can't make clients start working with you.
Well, here's the thing, right? So the interesting thing about my story is here I am. I've been in the money game and world my whole career,
Mhm.
working with a financial advisor 10 years prior to helping other people. So I knew the success, right? But there was one very important suggestion or, rule of thumb, if you will, that he gave me, that Joe had given me as my financial advisor, that I didn't follow. I couldn't pull it off. He told me, we got to get you to save more. I was already saving 5%, right? Which is
Mhm.
the national average ish, depending on the year. And that just simply isn't enough if you want to do something big, or if a shoe drops, or two
Mhm.
things happen, like what happened to me in the
Mm.
same year,
Mhm.
where you flip a switch over to entrepreneurship. Oh, and the main, at that point, breadwinner. I was the main breadwinner until I flipped the switch. Then he became the breadwinner,
Yeah.
but then that evaporated under my feet, right?
Right.
And then I was in a conundrum because I had told everybody, this is the career. Remember, I had kicked the tires for a year and a
Yeah.
half. This is the
Yeah.
career I will retire from, to all my friends and family, to all my colleagues, because that's where they tell you to start,
Right.
right? In terms of the market that you start working with. Oh my. So ego was a big thing, right? Humility didn't register large in my family nor my life. So that
Mhm.
was not a familiar thing. So I didn't go humble and release and right, as I would today if the same thing was happening. I went very male, right? Very core
Mhm.
male of just keep working harder, just keep doing more of this, and the ship will right itself, right?
Yeah.
Well, pedaling as hard as I couldn't keep up with things. And a few years later, we had to file bankruptcy. It was my debt plus his school loans, plus then he had several. There were some medical things going on, some surgeries and such, and I just couldn't pull it all together.
Yeah.
Little did I realize that it was because of the frequency, my energetic frequency was actually very repellent to people. I
Mm.
was speaking confidence, I was saying all the right things. If someone would ask me how things are going, I was trained to say, great and getting better,
Mm.
right?
Right.
Which is
Not
that
even
element
better
of
than that's not
fine.
even fine. Right. Yeah. Great and getting
It's not,
better.
that's even whoa over the
Yeah.
top, right?
Yeah.
And I felt like a split personality, honestly.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it was really challenging, and it's huge stress, pressure to perform. Like I didn't calculate that newness element of figuring out things. Even though I had mentors and then I also did hire coaches. It does take some time to adjust to being an entrepreneur and doing all the things and wearing all the hats and worrying about all the things and all the details and all the follow up and all the and ad
Yeah.
nauseum, right?
Yeah.
So I love everything about that. I do. It was, how quickly could I get to be good at it?
You said in our pre-show interview your husband didn't know, right? He didn't know how much debt you
Oh,
had
he didn't know
accumulated.
because I was managing all the finances. Like
Uh-huh.
we always kept because of my debt situation initially, we always kept our money separate because I didn't want him to be kind of like sharing that load. That was mine that I created, and again, ego, a
Mhm.
mine that I created and mine to take care of, right? So
Mhm.
don't worry, Susan will handle it, right?
Mhm.
Well, Susan would have been able to handle it if she had been creating the income
Right.
earlier, but
Yeah.
in my first year, in addition to the other challenges, I had all of the negative things that people in my career, in the financial practice career, experience in like the first 10 years. I had it all collapsed into 1 year.
Mm. Because you like to go
So
hard at things. So let's just do it in 1 year.
hard, hard. So all in. I was like, yeah, just bring it all in so I can get rid of it so that the next 9 years are great.
Mm-hmm.
So the interesting thing there was in 2013 we filed for bankruptcy. A year later it was discharged, and I remember that shame, that embarrassment, that because here I am, like who now am I to help
Mm-hmm.
anybody with their financial plan?
Right.
But yet, right, the mess becomes the message.
Mm-hmm.
It's truly, without that experience, I could not stand on the wall that I stand on for my clients now and say, no, 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 you have to save 20%. We have to get you started now. You cannot wait. Things are going to happen that you don't even know. You have no clue. I'm here to tell you, I'm proof that this happens. So
Mm-hmm.
let's make sure that doesn't happen for you. Right.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, when in the summer of 2018, when I made my signature discovery of the 7 energetic levels of money consciousness, I now realize when we filed for bankruptcy, I was in level 1, which I call deficient absence. I was attracting unpreferred circumstances, and I did it so well. I got like the 10-year in 1 year
Mm-hmm.
effect,
Mm-hmm.
right? So here's the point, people. You're really good at manifesting. You got to be conscious about focusing on what you want, not what you don't want.
Mm-hmm.
And also your state of consciousness, right?
Yeah.
Like the frequency, the vibration that you're showing up, because the vibration of shame is very close to death. The vibration of gratitude is the highest we can embody. And
Yes.
I got to tell you, I did not wake up grateful
Mm-hmm.
any of those days in like, from 2013 on until 2016. And then I started to learn about energy and start to apply it. And that's why now, fast forward a decade, we are
Yeah.
living in a prosperity palace. We're on 23 acres. We have a place in the Mediterranean, like et cetera, et cetera. We've got it just everything. I drive a luxury car, like, the total turnaround. Right.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right. You have to be at that frequency. And I was just talking to um, Tara Gooch. She's going to be a guest on the show in an upcoming episode, but we had lunch yesterday. We'd never met in person, so it was fun. We were talking about energetic frequencies because she talks a lot about gratitude, as do I, and how gratitude and love are they're equivalent. They're essentially the same. If you're living in gratitude, you're living in that love frequency.
So it's interesting. People do think that, but gratitude is closer to 900 on the scale of 0 to 1,000, according to Sir David
Mm-hmm.
Hawkins in Power versus
Mm-hmm.
Force. Love is 500. Joy is 540.
What?
So
Really?
it's actually, yeah, so Christy Marie Sheldon teaches love or above, right? And so love actually is not, it's gratitude is the highest vibrational frequency we as humans can physically embody.
That's
I know,
crazy. I never
fascinating.
heard that before. Thank you for sharing that, because I always thought of them as equivalent.
I know,
And I
but
haven't read
it's
that book yet. I need to. I've heard of it 1,000 times, but I haven't picked it up yet. Yeah.
I can give you the short version. There is a way to calibrate the frequency of any state of consciousness, and it's through muscle testing or kinesthesiology. And that's how he does it, right? And I heard of this book through Christy Marie Sheldon when I went through her program, Love or Above, and then read that book. And then some years later, a couple of years later, one of my coaches said, I have a book for you to read. And when I read it, I said, oh my goodness, I read this before, but I was 2 years later, I
Mm-hmm.
was a totally different person.
Mm-hmm.
So it hit me differently. And that actually spurred me as I was reading it. I said, this is exactly how money energy works. So therefore there have to be levels of money consciousness. And so
Mm.
that's where I derived my money realities.
Wow. Okay.
I
Cool.
know.
The fact that this book is coming up again I'm going to have to add it. Like, I've already got 3 books going right now, but when which I don't like
Well,
doing. I
so
like reading
here,
one at a time.
So here's a tip, because like every so often you kind of just need the cliff notes so that you can kind of catch up. If the universe is giving you multiple
Mm-hmm.
messages to read the same book or books, and you've got now a pile and it's starting to stress you out, what you can use Chat GTP or any IA to do is give you a summary of the book and then go deeper into the tenets
Ooh,
if you want to. I know.
that's awesome
It's
advice.
a cool, that's my favorite way to use AI right now.
I love it. Because everybody's talking about AI, but like, how do I use it? This is a great way to use it. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. Uh, I was just looking at our notes from what we talked about. I wanted to ask you, because you mentioned a couple of times about being raised with the value that hard work is success, and that you have employed the whole idea, and I've done it myself, like, oh, what I'm doing isn't working, let me do more of it, let me work harder. What's your belief now? Do you think that hard work is the key to success?
That's a great question, and thank you for asking it. So, there are two ways to create money. One is middle class mindset, or what I call ego earning. Like I mentioned, there was a lot of ego in
Mm,
my world prior. That's just how we're raised, usually by
mhm,
well intentioned people, but that's more for survival, not for thrival. So, if you want to move into the surplus and overflow of money creation, that happens when you release that middle class mindset, which is the land of three plus three plus three. Like, to
mhm,
have more money, I've got to work harder longer, or I've got to exchange my time for money. Or to build wealth, I have to add, it's like a summation game. I have to add to my bank account, my retirement, my whatever. You want to ditch that and move into what I call exponential receiving. Even the vibration of the words is different. And that's where you step into exchanging your highest level value for the money. It's your value for the money, not time. It's not time
mhm,
based. And that opens you up into the higher, if I will, higher quote unquote, levels of the money realities, right? So there's five, loving money. There's six and seven. There's a lot of joy and gratitude in the upper levels. Peak money consciousness is in levels seven, and you start stepping into like really focusing on your purpose, and the money just follows. It's
mm,
like there's that book, Do What You Love and the Money Will Follow.
mhm,
Well, if you're doing what you love, you're in the vibrational frequency of 500 on that scale of 0 to 1,000, which sounds like it would be the middle, but actually, courage of 200 is because it's not linear. So
yeah,
200 is actually the pivotal point out of those first two levels into courageous forgiveness is the third level of money realities. And that, like, but if you're operating in love, you're already at a very high frequency. You still have two more levels you can go,
mhm.
but loving money is a great place to be. And you can't really be in that level if you're stuck in that ego earning methodology.
Okay, so now you just mentioned something that I have to ask you another question about, the loving of money.
Yeah.
How, because there is a misinterpretation of that phrase, that the love, what is it? The evil is the love of money is
Yep.
the,
Yes. And so it's the level is called loving money, not loving of money, but loving money. And I'm not talking about the love of money, talking about loving money for what it enables us to be, do, and have.
mhm,
Right. I interviewed 150 women recently for a book for my financial practice. Stay tuned, it's coming out.
cool.
And it's called Own Your Financial Story, by the way, in case you want to look it up anytime when after publication.
Mhm,
And a lot of women told me like what's important to them about money is financial security. But
mhm,
financial security with money is one of the lower levels of money. When you get into the higher levels, now it's about making a difference in the world. It's about being charitable. It's about supporting those causes that you believe in, or starting your own cause, right?
mhm,
And or community, or making whatever that impact is. But you can't chase impact over income. You have to be able to make it about the money first in order to reverse engineer into what level of value do I need to exchange for that level of money that I want? And that usually starts occurring around that level 5 of money, of loving money, because you step into compassion and empathy, right? It's a different state of consciousness when it
Mm-hmm.
comes. You bless your money in and out. You bless your wallet, your mailbox, or wherever the money's coming up, your PayPal account, your Venmo account, whatever, right?
Wow. Okay.
Blessing is a very high vibe. Like when you bless something or someone, you're elevating not only your own frequency, but also the other person. So imagine blessing all your money. Now you're elevating not only your frequency and receptivity, but money's frequency in your space. So now you're attracting more money to you just
Mm.
by that blessing.
I love that. Okay. So this is your first book, is it?
So, no, my first book is Money Energy Mastery.
Okay.
That's the one I wrote in 2021. And that's my first solo book. I was in a couple of
Yeah.
collaboration books, right?
Yeah.
2017 was my hardest one that I wrote. But you can look at my website and find out all those details. The one that I mentioned that I interviewed the women for is for my financial practice. That'll be my first financial practice book, because I want a book for that. And then I have a second one coming out after that for my like as a second in the 7 Money Realities series.
Okay. Cool. So I will get
Yeah.
links to those when you publish them, and we can come back and stick them in the show notes. And
Awesome.
if they publish after we publish this. And yeah, I can put links to the book that is already published in the show notes as well. Or like you said, we can just send them to your website.
Cool.
This has been so interesting. Such a good conversation. Thank you so much.
You're
Before we
welcome.
go, I need to know, what's your hype song?
Oh, Soak Up the Sun by Sheryl Crow.
Oh, that's such a good one. That's so funny. I haven't listened to Sheryl Crow in a really long time, and I had it on yesterday when I was working. And here you show up saying your Soak Up the Sun is your song. And it's been starting to get sunny too.
Yeah, I know. Can't wait.
Very
This
cool.
has been so fun. Thank you
All
so
right.
much.
Last question before we go. What is your website? And how can people reach you if they want to find you? So I will put the links in the show notes, but just so you can mention it in case someone's not looking at show notes.
Awesome. Will do. So it's Susan, Susan, Glusica, GLU, like glue without the E, SICA.com. And you can go there, and all my links are in there.
Excellent. Easy enough. Well, thank you so much for joining me today on Fine is a 4-letter word. And give a hug to that little cute ball of fur.
She's sleeping in my lap right now.
She's finally fallen asleep.
Thanks, Lori.